All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, episode 997. Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you to everyone out there, as always, for listening to the show, for watching it on YouTube, however you consume Talking Buffalo. You guys are the best. I really mean it. I truly appreciate you. Also, appreciate today's sponsor, Sunny Reds, 1531 Aber Road, just down or up the road from Highmark Stadium, depending on what direction you're going. Some of the best eats, best drinks, best vibes. Love that place. If you have not yet been to Sunny Reds, go check it out. In fact, in just a second, I'm going to give you a very specific reason to go to Sunny Reds next week. This is our Podbag episode. I love these. Some of my favorite episodes to do because they're very interactive. You, the listener, you control the narrative, the topics, the questions, the comments. I pluck some of the best ones that you guys send me. I read them off on the show. I respond. As usual, a extremely Bill-centric podcast or Podbag episode here today. Got one Sabres item. I'll save that for the very end. But for the most part, all Bills stuff. Quick couple notes and we'll just dive right in. This is actually going to be the last Podbag for the next couple weeks because Matt Warren, who usually does a show with me on Wednesdays, is going to move over to Thursdays for the next 2 weeks. Next week, he's going to move over to Thursday because I got a very special episode coming on podcast form anyway that we drop on Wednesday. More on that in a second. So he'll jump on with me next Thursday. And then the following week is the kickoff of NFL free agency. There'll be 3 days in. So he's going to join me actually live Wednesday night, and we will record a Thursday podcast up to the minute news and reaction. Hopefully a very busy time for the Buffalo Bills. It certainly will be for the NFL. So Matt will be on with me Thursday the next 2 weeks to break all that stuff down. As for this show today, second last episode, of course, of the week. Still got one more to go. Tomorrow, going to be a special one, too. I'm going to be live, Imperial Pizza, 1035 Aber Road. I know a couple people were asking on social media when I put the promo up, was it going to be Aber Road or was it going to be the Main Street location? It is definitely 1035 Aber Road. I'm going to be joined live by Mike McDonald, the head basketball coach at Damon University. And I'll tell you what, I am really looking forward to this conversation. Mike's the head coach of a team right now that is quite literally the number one ranked D2 men's basketball program in the entire nation. 24-0. Cannot wait to sit down with Mike, have some wings, and just talk about his career, this team, which is heavily consisting of kids from the Western New York area, how they got to be a number one program in the country. And again, undefeated regular season, 24-0. Can't wait to see how they do in the D2 tournament. We'll talk about that much more with Mike tomorrow. Then next Monday, episode 999, I am having my 4th annual Podcasters Roundtable. Joe Marino from Lockdown Bills, Bruce Nolan from the Bruce Exclusive, Greg Thompson, Cover One. All 3 guys will join me for a 4th consecutive year. We sit down and we discuss pretty much everything and anything with the exception of the Buffalo Bills. And I know you might be like, huh? I promise you, these are really fun, informative, insightful, and entertaining conversations with 3 of the very, very best Buffalo Bills content creators in the game. Marino, Thompson, Bruce Nolan. Then the big one. It'll be live on Tuesday. The podcast will drop on Wednesday, but episode number 1000, Talking Buffalo, live, Sunny Reds, 1531 Aber Road. And I'm going to be joined by not just one, but 2 of my very favorite sports journalists and guests of this show that I've ever had in all 1,000 episodes. Tyler Dunn from Go Long, Joe Biscaglia from The Athletic, both join me live next Tuesday night, 8 p.m., Sunny Reds. So if you've never been to Sunny Reds, or if you've been there before, you want to step up again, that is a great time to come. The guys would love to meet you. Say hello. We're going to be doing the show right at about 8 p.m. So a very busy and fun time here for Talking Buffalo. Before I get into the actual pod bag, some Bills news. So on yesterday's podcast, I was joined as usual on Wednesdays by Matt Moran, and we talked about a host of Buffalo Bills things, 10 questions that I feel like pre-free agency need to be answered by the Buffalo Bills internally, even if we don't know that information. We didn't really talk about Khalil Shakir. We recorded it lunchtime-ish on Tuesday, and sure enough, the way it goes when you have an everyday podcast, not maybe 30 to 60 minutes or so after that episode was in the can, big news broke with the Buffalo Bills. They re-signed wide receiver Khalil Shakir to a 4-year extension, so 4 years, up to $60.2 million, $32 million of that guaranteed. Uh, Joe Marino from Locked On Bills is really teaching me, and hopefully if you guys are watching or listening to him, teaching you guys as well, that we need to stop looking at numbers. Just when it comes to a contract, if player X is making 10 million a year, 15 million a year, 5 million a year, whatever it may be, stop looking at it only that way. Start looking at it more towards what percentage of the salary cap is that contract for, because the salary cap keeps going up. $56 million more now than it was just 2 years ago. And as Joe very accurately pointed out, the Shakir deal represents 5.47% of the Bills cap at the time of the signing. That puts them right around Darnell Mooney and former Buffalo Bill Gabe Davis, their percentage of the cap. So that deal is very similar to them. It's actually a little bit lower than Jerry Jeudy. I love the deal, obviously. I'm a big Khalil Shakir fan. I feel like he really stepped up this year. Continued a trend that we saw in the back half of 2023 once Joe Brady took over for Ken Dorsey as offensive coordinator. And it just feels like his game continues to ascend. He is extremely consistent, reliable, dependable. Those are adjectives that a lot of people, including Brandon Beane, would use to describe Khalil Shakir, third in the NFL in yards after catch, a great weapon. By far, the Bills' most consistent and dependable pass catching weapon. He's still young, just turned 25 earlier this month on February 3rd. I think it's a really good deal. I do. Now, look, I'm not going to go as far to say, oh, wow, the Bills got a steal. I wouldn't call it a steal. 4 years, up to 60 million, basically 5.5% of the Bills cap on him. It's a good deal. It's not a steal, and it's certainly not an overpay either. So important to get him locked in. A valuable weapon, a consistent guy, a popular player, very popular in that building, and obviously very popular amongst Bills Mafia as well. So anyway, that was news that actually happened on Tuesday, but we didn't get a chance to talk about it on yesterday's show because the news broke after we already had recorded. All right. On that note, let's get to this pod bag. Got a couple good ones, and I'm going to tell you right now, kind of a little bit of a spoiler. It was in the headline. If you're watching on the video side, everything is on the table for the Buffalo Bills defense. That is the prominent theme of almost everything that I talk about today. Let's start with Julian. Julian says, are you surprised the Bills' first extension was Shakir? I did not think personally that he was going to be their top priority. All right. Well, thank you for that, Julian. I'll say this. I don't know. In fact, I'm relatively confident that he wasn't necessarily their top priority as much as Khalil Shakir was the guy that they were closest to when it comes to money in term of a contract. Among the guys, the extension eligible guys that we spent a lot of time over the last handful of weeks talking about. Shakir, Benford, James Cook, Greg Rizzo, maybe Connor McGovern. I think it was just, the situation where Khalil Shakir's representation and Brandon Beane and his staff, that's where they were the closest to it in getting the deal done. It just happened to get done first. It's my opinion anyway. Certainly no inside information here. I just think it was the easiest to get done. Like it was laid out the most, probably the least amount of wiggle room per se. Like there might be a very big difference. In fact, there is a big difference, I'm sure, with what James Cook wants to get and what the Bills want to pay him. That might be the case with Greg Rizzo as well. Or maybe the Bills don't want to extend him right now. Maybe with Christian Benford, there's a big gap. But I don't know that necessarily Khalil Shakir was their quote unquote top priority to get an extension done first. I just think the numbers fit the most reasonably and the easiest for him. I personally think that Christian Benford far and away should be and is their top priority. It's just that it's not going to be that easy. Christian Benford is going to be a dude that ends up getting 20 to $25 million per year, somewhere in that range. And by the way, that's going to be completely deserved. And I fully expect the Buffalo Bills to get it done. There's just nothing behind him at that position. And he has really, I think, over this past year, solidified himself as one of the game's best young corners. And I emphasize the word young because he's still got a lot of good football ahead of him. So for him to be a top 10, maybe as high as top 3 or 4 paid corner in the NFL, that wouldn't be shocking at all to me. And the only thing that would shock me is that if it doesn't get done sooner rather than later, I'd be borderline shocked if they don't get something done at the very latest before week 1. So there's that. Clay T says, thoughts on the Bills trading for Green Bay cornerback Jair Alexander? All right, so news came out early Wednesday, and I saw a lot of reaction from a lot of Bills fans about the possibility of trading for Green Bay corner, very talented, often injured Jair Alexander. Thoughts on it? I'm against it, but, and I got to emphasize that word, but, I am against it literally for only one reason and one reason only. Not because Alexander is known kind of like sort of a dick around the league. You've seen a lot of quotes with it. Seems like he'd be a very selfish player. And admittedly, I don't know the guy personally, but just based on what I see, what I feel, big shit talker, whatever you want to call it. You've seen him get into him with several players. But that ain't got nothing to do with why I wouldn't want him here. Joe from Queens and I had a conversation on the show last Sunday, and we might dive into this even more this coming week. And I know it's been brought up with other guests on the show as well. I know the Bills are built on vibe and culture and all that stuff, but if you're going to get a dickhead or two who's got a lot of talent on them, out there, trust your leadership in your locker room, he can fit in just fine. I don't need a clubhouse full of Boy Scouts on the Buffalo Bills. I need a couple guys who can make a difference in football games, the biggest games. And by the biggest games, I mean playoff games. Let's just call it what it is. So it's not Alexander's attitude or anything like that that would have me against it. It's not because, surprisingly anyway, it's not really because of the contract either. You still got 2 years left. Cap it big, 25 million, 27 million. I mean, maybe you would kind of rework something, give a little upfront money, a couple of void years, make it a little bit cap easier for you to get done. But it's not because of the contract, man. It's really not. Not because the Bills and Christian Benford have a guy who's soon enough, we just talked about it, maybe making as much, maybe exactly the same amount of money. It's a hell of a lot of money to put in one position. I get that, but that's not the reason either why I say no to this. It's not because of the talent. He's an elite talent. He's a 2-time All-Pro corner. He just turned 28. He's not old. My issue is one thing, simple. He don't play enough. He gets hurt. 7 games this year, knee injury. He only played in 7 games this year. He only played in 7 games last year. He only played in 4 games in 2021. So basically over the last 5 years, he's either been an all-pro corner or he's been out for more than half the season. It's one or the other. That is where it becomes too much money and too much commitment for a guy who's just simply not out there enough. But I want to be clear again. It's the person, it's the player specifically I'm saying no to because of the injury history. It's not the position. It's not the big contract. And I want to be even more clear here now. This team needs, in my opinion, not even just one. This team needs not one, but two impactful defenders who are going to make the difference when it matters the most. Simple as that. If that's an edge rusher, that's awesome. And that's probably the most ideal. I don't disagree with any of you who are thinking that, all right? If one of them's an edge guy, great. If one of them is a defensive tackle who is a significant upgrade from DaQuan Jones, that's great. If it's a great corner who's going to be significantly better than Rasul Douglas, and you got elite corner on one side and Christian Benford on the other, and you'll be like, good luck throwing the football. Our corners are going to lock your receivers down. That's awesome. Okay. Hell, if it's a safety, if it's Javon Holland, and that is the upgrade you have from Cole Bishop, DeMar Hamlin, great. I don't care. I don't care. This team needs two playmakers on this defensive side of the ball who are going to make the plays that this current era of Buffalo defenders don't make when it matters the most. The metrics look fine. They had a gazillion takeaways last year. I give them a lot of credit for that. They found ways to win. They did it in the playoffs. That Baltimore game was perfectly symbolic of what this Bills defense is. Too many yards, too many points, but they make up for it with takeaways. They had 3 of them against the Ravens. Absolutely the difference in the game. They get to a certain point, certain times during the regular season, they shine. They have some great moments, some great games, whether it's individually or collectively as a unit, primarily because of the takeaways. But the bottom line is this defense as constructed, and we've seen it year after year after year after year now, going back 4 or 5 years, they just ain't good enough when it matters the most. It's not debatable either. Look at the stats. Look at the way the Bills have been eliminated from the playoffs the last 4 years, 5 years. The one consistent theme. Josh Allen's had some incredible games in playoff losses, and he's had some so-so games. But I don't think the Bills, well, maybe the Cincinnati game, I will say. Josh Allen did not play good enough to win in that game. But the other 4, Josh Allen played at least well enough that the Bills could have won the game. But the consistent part has been this defense has sucked. It has sucked primarily against the Chiefs, 1 year against the Bengals too, but this defense falls on their face when it matters the most. Simple as that. Greg Rousseau's their best player on defense, arguably anyway, this year. He face planted. He completely face planted against the Chiefs. Inexcusable effort and production from a guy that you're counting on, the guy that was your best, certainly your best guy in the front 7 all season long. He face planted. Last year, the year before that, in elimination losses, it was Ed Oliver. Now, Ed played a lot better against the Chiefs this year. In fact, I thought Ed Oliver played really, really good in the AFC Championship game just last month. But it didn't make up for Greg Rousseau face planting and playing like garbage in that game. You can't have it. And these guys just continue to do it year after year after year when they go up against the Chiefs in the playoffs or when they get eliminated in the playoffs, period. And I don't know how you could expect that narrative to change with the same cast of characters. When is Greg Rousseau going to get off in an AFC Championship game? When is Ed Oliver absolutely going to get off? When are you going to get more than 1 or 2 guys going at the same time? Like, where's Terrell Bernard making big plays in a championship game? Where's DaQuan Jones, A.J. Epinesa, Von Miller in his 16 snaps? Dwan Smoot? I could keep going on and on and on. You get the point. Same general core, same general cast of characters is going to produce the same results. And that's on all three levels of the defense. Maybe not so much linebacker, but certainly the front four and certainly the back end in the secondary, both at corner and at safety. So it's not Alexander. If DJ Reed becomes available, and he has interest in the Bills, he is a free agent. If the Bills were to go sign someone like him, if Javon Holland at safety, if the Bills wanted to make a major play and upgrade there's several impactful edge guys, and we've talked about a lot of them. Defensive tackle, maybe Jonathan Allen. Washington just we read that he's going to be on the trade block right now. To me, the Buffalo Bills should be dead serious on adding two pieces, not one, wherever that talent could shine the most. And that is going to be my theme today. And that is my theme pretty much for the entire offseason is don't not maximize the potential of another Josh Allen prime year. You got to take chances at this point. You really do. If a great corner is available, but you can only get a so-so upgraded edge, take the corner. Take the corner. Now, I prefer the edge, so we're clear, but you kind of get what I'm saying here. Difference makers, impactful guys who you think could come in, guys who you sign, not so much what they're going to do just weeks 1 through 17, but what are they going to do weeks 18 through 20, 21? Have your mind on that more than anything else. And that does matter for the offense, too. Again, you got to be all in. I'm not just saying, well, it's got to be all defense and nothing necessarily on the offense. But this especially holds true for the defense because it's been the defense year after year with everything on the line where they just fall short every single time. So every single thing when it comes to this defense should be on the table. Edge, defensive tackle, which we already know about, but I would not shy away from adding an elite talent at corner to combine with another elite talent at corner you already have in Benford. And I sure as hell would not hesitate to go add a very high-end, top-end safety to pair with, say, Taylor Rapp. And that last thing, too, I'd also advise everybody, when it comes to the defensive edges that we've been talking about for the last few weeks, I wouldn't get your heart too set on Myles Garrett or Max Crosby, and especially Micah Parsons. Never say never. I don't have any information to say never. I'm not expecting it. I don't know that those teams are going to ultimately trade him. And when it comes to Myles Garrett, even if they do, they say they're not going to, but even if they change their mind, I just don't see Myles Garrett getting traded to an AFC team. I can see him getting dealt, but I don't think Cleveland would send him to a conference foe. You'd have to really, really blow their wheels off, especially if you're the Buffalo Bills who picked 30th and you probably expect them to pick very low in the first round, or very high, I should say, in the first round the following season as well. You'd have to blow them away, and I don't think the Bills would do that. One guy I want to hit on, I just became Wednesday. Reports are surfacing that the Tennessee Titans have given Harold Landry III permission to seek a trade. That's a guy I like a lot. Khalil Mack, we've talked about him, an unrestricted free agent. Josh Sweat, who absolutely terrorized Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Those are the players I'm talking about, man. Those are the difference makers out there that I think you could get. And they're not going to cost you, in some cases, if they're free agents, they're going to cost you nothing but money. But some of these trades ain't going to cost you a first-round pick either, or at least not a first and more. I really like the Landry idea. I've been thinking about it all day. The Tennessee Titans, they need draft picks bad. I mean, they stink. They stink. They got the top pick of the draft, but they got 2 picks in the top 35, but then they don't pick again from 36 to 102. It's a big gap for a team that needs guys. Bills have 2 second-round picks. Landry's a great player. 9 sacks last year. He had 11 the year before that. I think he had 14 2 years ago before that. Pretty damn good against the run. In fact, he had the 4th most solo stops of any edge rusher in the NFL this past year. He's a pretty good tackler. He's 28 years old. So, again, he's not old by any means. Still got 2 years left on his deal. Again, cap hit high. This is why, a lot of these teams are seeking permission for trades. Not because the player sucks, it's because that team sucks and or their cap situation sucks. It's got a $24 million hit each of the next 2 years. So you'd have to figure that out. But man, oh man, a guy like Landry, even if it's just 1 year of group, because if you trade for Landry, maybe that means you're not giving Greg Rizzo an extension with or alongside with, which by the way, I'm fine. I mean, we've talked about that before. I think Greg Rizzo's I think he's got to have another a big time prove it year, and then you take your chances next offseason. But I ain't giving him $25 million right now. You don't pay $25 million to edge rushers who've never had 9 sacks in a season. But that's another story. What I was getting to was Landry specifically could be a great fit on a defense, a guy who can make an impact when it matters, and everything, and I mean everything, should be on the table when it comes to this defense. All right, real quick break, come back, and we'll fly through some more of these. All right, I am back here going through this week's pod bag. Your questions, your comments, your takes. I am replying to them. I got to add real quick, too. Not going to get into James Cook stuff today. I'll spare you that. I've been going at it on the show every day with various guests about it, arguing with it on social media. I'm just baffled at how many people are just willing to let him walk or disagree with. I kind of feel the same way when it comes to the defense. Everyone's talking like it's edge, maybe defensive tackle, but besides that, no. No one else is worth big money. I couldn't disagree more. Like I said before the break, if you got an opportunity to land a difference maker of a safety or a difference maker of a corner, I think you'd be crazy to not do that. And if you need any evidence of anything I just said, if you want to tell me that James Cook is just another guy that you could just keep drafting and replacing talents like him, I implore you to go back to that Kansas City game and watch that 4th down touchdown he scored and tell me that, average backs could do that. I implore you to do that. But also, again, if you don't think corner or safety is automatically worth, or not necessarily, I shouldn't say automatically. If you don't think there's any chance that any player should come in and get a big contract because you don't want to spend your money there, again, I implore you, go back and watch that game. Go watch Kyrie Elam. Go watch Damar Hamlin. Case closed. John McAndrew says, the 2024 draft misses cost the Bills a trip to the Super Bowl. Well, I don't know about all that. It didn't help, that's for sure. But I do think there's bigger reasons. I've been naming some of them throughout this show already. Now, that said, what I don't love about this draft class, and I've been very open about it, is there's as many, if not more, questions and answers with all 3 of the first picks. I'm not sold on any of them right now, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, Keon Coleman is a talent. 22. So Keon had, in his first 9 games, before he got hurt against Miami, Keon Coleman had 22 catches for 417 yards and 3 touchdowns. And again, that's weeks 1 through 9. If you were to pace that over a 17-game season where he stays healthy, he could have finished on pace 42 catches, 788 yards, and 6 touchdowns. That was the pace he was on before the injury. So again, 42, 788, 6 touchdowns. That feels like realistically to be almost the best case scenario for Keon Coleman going forward. And so we're clear here, that wouldn't be a miss in my book. If I told you right now, next season, Keon Coleman's going to have 42 catches, just under 800 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And I'm telling you that now in February, would you sign up for that? I think I would. That's never, and I don't think he ever is going to be a wide receiver 1, but I think that's decently, certainly above average, borderline good wide receiver 2. 800-ish yards and 6 touchdowns. I think that's what he's got to do to not be a miss. But there's concern. There is concern. There's obviously concern how he came back from the injury. It's a little concerning how the general manager and the head coach have both been pretty surprisingly almost open about their disappointment on, how he looked coming back from that injury. Like, did he not work hard enough? Should he have been working harder? Should he have been more locked in? Did he lose some of the focus once he came back? Did he have, attention span issues? Was he not practicing as hard? I don't know what it is, but it seems to me like it's a little bit more than just an injury. And I think it was Brandon Beane who said on Tuesday, the kid's only 21 and they're going running him off or anything like that. I don't know, man. I haven't loved the way they've spoken about him since the season ended, and I just simply have reservations. As for Cole Bishop, to me, he's a wait and see guy. Like, I don't feel any better about Cole Bishop going into year two right now than I felt about him in July going into his rookie season. It's pretty much the same. And as for Dwayne Carter, he didn't look good at all. I mean, let's just say what it is. And I'm not gonna sit here. I liked the Cole Bishop pick originally. I don't want to be, Captain Hypocrite now. I didn't love the Keon Coleman pick, and I was very vocal about that. I liked the Cole Bishop pick. Did not like, I was so on the Dwayne Carter pick, but Joe Marino guy, again, I keep mentioning him today. Someone I respect a lot. He was not high at all on that pick. And that kind of gave me some pause because I just have so much respect for what Joe thinks when it comes to football players. And Dwayne Carter, minus a couple of splash plays, he stunk. And he got hurt. And he wasn't the same player when he came back either. And he didn't even dress in the playoffs. That really bothers me. But so you have a guy like Marino, being critical of Dwayne Carter. And then I talked about this a few times recently. Jim Manos on Tyler Dunn's show. I know a lot of people think he's a Bills hater. I said this. I don't think he is. I think a lot of you are reading too much into stuff. But anyway, kind of really shocked me when he said on Tyler's show that he thinks Cole Bishop's terrible. Said he's basically a linebacker. Called him terrible. That kind of took me back. As far as the draft, look, Ray Davis is really good. I think Javon Sullivan flashed. I like some potential from him. I think the team's pretty high on Tyler and Great Gable. We had a good camp. But the issue is yet again, we're talking about day 3 picks right now shining from a Brandon Beane draft class and not enough from those first and second day picks. They do have to be a lot better next year. So to kind of sum up what you're saying, that's not what cost the Bills to go to the Super Bowl or not go to the Super Bowl. But I will say, if they're not better in year 2, that's going to have a very negative impact on this team because it feels like they're going to count on Keon Coleman and they're going to count on Cole Bishop to take big jumps. At Bills Gal 419, Dorian Williams would have been considered a miss last year. Keon, Cole, and Carter could all have a good year too. Look, I don't think the bar for Dorian Williams in his rookie year was as high as it was for Keon Coleman or Cole Bishop even this year. Dorian Williams was drafted in the 3rd round, and from the second he was drafted, instantly, we knew that he was taken to be Matt Milano's backup. That's it. Not the Mike linebacker, but Milano's backup. And we learned that pretty early because, you can argue that Tyrell Dodson going ahead of him after Matt Milano got hurt was a little bit of a blow, a lot of a blow, I should say, to his rookie year. AJ Klein coming off the couch in the playoffs over Dorian Williams. I get that. Probably doesn't give you a lot of confidence about Dorian Williams going into this year, but I like Dorian Williams, and I liked him coming out of school. I felt like the thing with him is he just lacked opportunity. And last year as a rookie in a Sean McDermott defense, I feel like Sean McDermott didn't trust him and didn't think he knew the defense well enough. He wasn't fundamentally enough sound. So I don't think there was really much expectation for him his rookie year. But yes, to your point, he bounced back when Milano got hurt again this year. He stepped up. He played great. So I like your Dorian take. I just really can't compare and relate it to this class, at least not right now with Keon and with Cole. At 527, Lamont says, I'll pass on Hollywood Brown. I feel like KJ Hamler can do the same things, but maybe that's just wishful thinking on my part. I'm still trying to figure out why Jalen Virgil were getting the calls off the practice squad over him. You said you're not really sold on Hollywood Brown. That makes 2 of us, to be honest. But I'm even less sold on KJ Hamler. ever being anything on this roster. Look, Hamler had a golden chance this summer, every opportunity to really make a name for himself at camp in the preseason, and he just never did. I mean, MVS, Claypool, those were disasters at camp. Mari Cooper wasn't on the team over the summer. Andy Isabella got hurt, and KJ Hamler just nothing came of him. As far as Virgil, he got the call-ups more because he was a gunner on special teams, where if Hamler wasn't returning kicks, he had no value. And once the Bills swung a trade with the Jets for their kick returner, I feel like it was over for that point at KJ Hamler. I would have zero expectations of him going forward. At Libby/PH1. The Bills will regret not keeping Amari if they can reasonably keep him. I'm not sure how much more useful he would be if he came back than he was this past year. I'm not sure how much more he would play, what percentage of the snaps it would be significantly more than what he had this year. I thought he was being ramped up for the playoffs, and that just never really materialized. He played 44% of the snaps against the Chiefs. I don't know why you bring a guy back and give him anything significant for that. So I don't think there's a way to reasonably pay a guy even close to the money that Cooper's probably going to get somewhere on the market. If you want to add big time pieces, I'm going to go back to what I've been saying. Go give me 2 impact defensive players, not just one, because I think the Bills need 2. Guys like Ed Oliver and Greg Rizzo, Terrell Bernard, they are really good complementary defensive players. But they need 1 or 2 more really, truly impactful guys. So spend Amari Cooper's money on defense. Spend it on defense. Now, a lot of people don't like hearing that, but it's the truth. I'm not saying to ignore wide receiver. Be clear about that too. I'm looking forward to watching some Cover One film breakdowns. They're going to be breaking down some wide receivers, lesser name wide receivers, I should say, out there that the Bills could have interest in that could be really good fits. Tutu Atwell from the Rams is one of them. He's only 25 years old. Josh Palmer, he's just 25. Demarcus Robinson, he's older. He's 30. Pretty really good route runner with the Rams. De'Ami Brown, 25 years old from Washington, kind of broke out a little bit late in the season. Real big speed guy. They're going to be highlighting them. There's others too. I think that's probably how the Bills are going to add to the wide receiver room. They're going to do it efficiently, economically, and hope that they could hit to some. And on some levels, they did last year with a very low key at the time signing and Matt Collins. I think the strategy is going to be when it comes to wide receiver to kind of do something like that again. Go get a bottom of the roster depth chart receiver. And then by that, I mean a guy who's actually going to still be on the roster and actually play. And then maybe you end up getting more than what you expect. But you're not going to tie in those resources heavily to the offense because you're looking to pay the defense because everything is on the table. Yeah, but you got to do something. Look, you got to do more in a Josh Allen prime year and then hope that Keon Coleman can be what you want him to be in year 2 at the end of the day. So there you go. At Bills Mafia Experience, Terrell Bernard isn't the issue at all. It's the mediocre play of our D-line. They need a 6'4", 340 defensive tackle next to Oliver. Need a greater pass rusher like a Garrett or a Mack. All right, this is kind of in response to me saying earlier this week that I don't think Terrell Bernard had a very good season. And guess what? I still feel that way right now. You need all that stuff. That helps for sure. I agree with you on a lot of what you said. Definitely get a better player alongside Ed Oliver. I love DaQuan Jones, man. I really do. But he's old now, and he's not the same player he was after he tore that pec. It just is what it is. Got to get an upgrade there, and you got to get a better pass rusher than A.J. Epinesa. And Von Miller. Von Miller can still get after the quarterback, but what good is he when he's playing 25 to 30% of the snaps, right? So you need all that stuff. It would help for sure. But I'm also not going to absolve completely Terrell Bernard for what I thought was just a so-so year this past season, at least by really good middle linebacker standards. And he basically had, guess what? He basically had the same defensive line in front of him this year that he did the year before that as well. Same guys. 2023, difference was he made a lot of splashy, impactful plays. 2023, he had 3 interceptions, 3 forced or 3 fumble recoveries. He had 6.5 sacks, 10 tackles for a loss, 85 solo tackles, 9 quarterback hits, played 17 games. This past year, now he missed 4 games, but still, just 2 interceptions, only 1 fumble recovery, just 1 sack the whole season, 55 solo tackles, which is what, 30 some less? Only 5 tackles for a loss. It's half of what he had the year before. Just 3 quarterback hits. That's a third of what he had the year before. Now, look, some of that is scheme and opportunity. I get that. But my point was, is he just wasn't quite as impactful, not consistently like he was in 2023. Now, of course, that Ravens game, play the game. I mean, he hits that ball, he strips the ball, I should say, from Mark Andrews. Bills probably don't win that game if Terrell Bernard don't make that play. I ain't trying to say the dude stinks. I ain't trying to say he's just even mediocre or average. He's not. He's better than that. He's good. At times, really good, but really good to great. I need to see him be a little bit more splashy. I need to see get back to the 2023 version of Terrell Bernard. And look, maybe the injury, like what a lot of other players on this team, he played through injuries, probably a bigger story than any of us actually know. At Salvatore Gerace here says, let me make sure I got this right here. All right, this is the second last one, by the way. Last Bills one. The Giants are desperate for guard help. I'm just saying. All right, this is in response to me talking just, I think it was yesterday with Matt Warren about maybe David Edwards, Bill's starting guard, being a trade or a cut candidate. David Edwards has a 4.9 million cap hit right now. The Bills could save $4 million by moving him. And maybe they get something for him, a 5th, a 6th round pick that they can maybe use for another prospect, or they can package, of course, for something else. And it ain't none against David Edwards. I said this earlier this week. I'll just say it again real quick here. I'm fine with him. I thought he played fine. It's just a combination of 2 things. Number one, Alec Anderson, Tylen Grable. Those are 2 good young guys. Gable, I should say, could play inside or outside. Maybe he's in the mix to start at guard, or worse, maybe he's that 6th offensive lineman if Alec Anderson were to become the starting guard. Kind of like David Anderson went from 6th offensive lineman in 2023 to being the starter. Maybe they do that with Alec Anderson this year. And maybe Gable becomes the 6th guy. There's other things in play as well. But what I'm telling you is that I think David Edwards, while good, I think is expendable. And if you could save $4 million, hate to keep beating a dead horse here, but every penny that you get that is going to help you land not 1, but 2 impactful defensive players, I think you really need to consider. And like I said, I think everything when it comes to the Bills defense should be on the table. I trust Aaron Kromer. I thought it was a disastrous move in the making when they got rid of Mitch Morse last year and just slid over Connor McGovern, but it all worked out. So if they were to trade David Edwards right now, I said cut, but they're not cutting him. But if they were to trade David Edwards and just slide Alec Anderson in there, I would trust him. I'd be confident, and that'd be $4 million that you can use towards the cap. And I'm sure a lot of you guys know when you sign a big name player, that first year of their contract, when you structure things and add a void year or 2, whatever to the back end of it, you could get a guy who's making, you look at his numbers, it's like $20-25 million a year. Well, guess what? His first year cap, it's like $4 or $5 million. So don't act like that money is not nothing. Last one here, switching gears quickly. At Tank and Frank 11 says, let's go, Buffalo. By that, I mean Sabres. I'll tell you this. Tuesday night was a nice one, man. A real nice game. They were down 2-0 to the Ducks. They come back and they score 3 over like 8 minutes in the third period. They win. They now won 6 in a row at home for the first time since November of 2018. God damn, that's a long time to not win 6 in a row at home. Anyway, yeah, they've won 6 out of 7. I'll give them credit. They didn't pack it in. I thought they were packing it in. I was burying this team every day. I'm still not happy with them. Not at all. But I'll give them credit because they didn't pack it in. I thought they totally were mailing in the rest of the season. I really did. I'm sure they heard the hate. A lot of fans being very critical. content creators, none so more than me. A lot of people checked out on them. They were starting to peek their head through the window a little bit. I know that's me. I'm not gonna lie. For the first time in a while, that game on Tuesday night when it was 2-0 and then it's 2-1, so, oh, okay. Sabres got something going on there, and then they win. So, I'm peeking my head through the window a little bit. Look, bottom line, they're still dead as last in the Eastern Conference. The whole conference, they're dead last. Now, how much that matters when the season's over, if that's the way it finishes, we'll see. I feel like right now, they're playing to see if does Lindy want to come back for another year. He's under contract. Or he has a 2-year contract. Does he want to come back for next year? Kevin Adams, does he keep his job at the end of this season? It's going to be 5 years in a row of full seasons if he's a GM where this team don't do shit. I think the progress from now through the rest of the season is going to determine both of those questions right there, I would bet. Talk to me if they beat Carolina. So you're listening to this on Thursday. They're on the road against Carolina, a very good team. If they beat Carolina on the road on Thursday night, talk to me. All right. But at the end of the day, it's all about that 13 game winless streak. I mean, that sucked. You look at it this way. So they went 0-10-3 over 13 games early in the season. If they win just 4 of those games, 13 times they play, and they win just 4, and then get those other 3 overtime losses, if you go 4-6-3, which is not good whatsoever, but if they went 4-6-3 instead of 0-10-3 during that span, right now, today, they'd be just 3 points out of the playoffs. And that shit is just sad. Sad, sad, sad. Tell you what's not sad, though. Tomorrow's show, again, Imperial Pizza Live, 8 p.m., 1035 Aber Road. Damon University coach Mike McDonald is going to be with me. We'll be talking, having a good time there at Imperial Pizza, and then a big, big week next week, including our 1000th episode ever of Talking Buffalo. So till tomorrow, have a good one. Talk to you soon.